holes in the road and bumps and debris from falling branches, and so it's just a really safe way to ride. And it's just, you just take a, as soon as you get out there, it's just like, oh my God, it's like relief. You can just drift around and not worry about it.
A balance bike for adults, and once they worked out, hey, we can put cranks in the front and you don't have to run on the ground, they're just like, hey, we can go a little bit further. And then things just got stupid. The bloody Victorians, not Victoria, but like Victorian era, they were just like, if we make the front wheel bigger, it can go faster, it can go further. And it just got to the point where we ended up any farther. Direct drive on the front, bigger wheel, the faster you go, the taller you are, the bigger the wheel. And some of these guys, like, there's a 1 hour record, and it's still standing from the 1800s because modern guys can't ride these things as fast as the dude back in 1890.
Sense that there's only 2 roller bearings and 2 fairly efficient tyres. So the tyres I've designed to feel around about like a road bike tyre at 100 to 120 psi. So I've got it 7 different tyres that you can put on for different use, and the gear is based upon what wheel size we can fit in comfortably. So if you want a bike that's a bit slower speed and easier ride, easier to mount and dismount, you're on a smaller wheel. If you want to go out racing and not do much turning and manoeuvring, you're on a bigger wheel. But of course, the dimensions for the rider are the same. So the actual, what you'd consider to be like the cockpits, where you sit, needs to fit your body. And then you make the bike and the wheel and everything to work within that. Well, pretty casual and really, it's all about fun. That's the big thing, that's the main thing. You turn up, have fun and mingle with the group, because they're an extraordinary group of people. And yeah, today's our South Australian Championships, and it's a 30-minute ride, about 10 kilometres or so we'll do, and it's just all out. We'll just go for it.
This is bike racing, and I saw an opportunity, and whether it's an opportunity or a gap, you take it, and no one was there, so I thought, why not just ride on the track now? The conditions looked okay when I left, and I thought, hey, this is the track to myself. Pretty rare experience, so I had a crack. Today I think it was traditional tail and bend. I've been back here a few times now for different reasons, and it's always windy. It was windy when I went out about 6:30 at night for quick sneaky little laps. Got a taste of the tailwind coming down the home straight, but also a lot of headwind on the other ways back. And all I can hope for is that wind is not there at the same time, because it was pretty hard, a few more hills. And I reckon there's going to be a lot of people out of the saddle a lot earlier in the day than at the end of the day.
I just love events, because even though the venue looks fantastic, it's now an epic world-class venue. And we've got more riders on track than last year. We've got about 50% more riders than we had last year in the 24 hour. Even so, events throw everything at you. So it's been as super stressful as it was last year. I thought it couldn't get more stressful than it possibly has. And you know what? I'm loving it. There is much more competitiveness about the riders this year. There's a lot more competition. And within the different fields, be it male soloists or female soloists, you get the sense of attention and a frisson of excitement about how will I do versus so-and-so. But we've still got the teams of 8, the guys and the girls who are just mates and are here to have fun. And as I've been walking down the pit lane, just a lot of banter, and I love the banter. It is just a great feeling.
Key thing is to sort of maybe get up early and just make sure you're on top of your food prep, and bikes are all running sweet and all that kind of stuff. Batteries are charged. That's a big one. I think obviously, everybody, you taper and you lose power over time. So the longer you can stay out there and be maintaining like a good speed, a good tempo, the better. So yeah, incredibly well early.
For me, something like this is brilliant because there's no traffic. It's really easy to get to, and you can really practice cornering, crit skills, a bit of speed work. You get to know loads of people, you get to chat to them. I think as the event progresses throughout the 24 hours, you get to know more and more and more people, and people become a lot more friendly. I really love the atmosphere, and I think it's great training, and it's a really good event. And if you want to push yourself, you can do all 24 hours, you can do a shorter period. There's something in here for everybody, and it's really good skills work as well, I think.
The idea of going all across the world for just 24 hours biking is crazy enough to make worth it.
I've always been that little child that runs down the street for hours and forgets to turn around because there's another corner to explore and another. How frequently did it happen that I was away for ages? Even the police had to look for me, and as I grew up there was less police involved, but I was still away for a long time. I've always done long distance stuff without even knowing, and when I started cycling and taking cycling a bit more serious, I realized that this whole thing of keeping going is just in me, and I love it, and I love riding, and I could ride all day for fun. 24-hour races don't seem to be so long anymore. They're relatively easy now, but I now want more. I want these 24-hour races to be really strong, fast, not just pedaling for 24 hours and just hope for a good outcome. I just want to actually get somewhere with speed, be exhausted at the end. You want to feel the pain and show to yourself that you can overcome that pain or go through it, and you're still alive at the end of it. I have a lot to do. I'm quite busy on the bike, just no one sees it. I'm actually very busy. So I have a lot of things that I think about. There's a lot of troubleshooting you can do. You can think about things that bother you or not. You can think about plans, make plans, in fact, and I have a lot of little quirky things that I think about. Yeah, no, I have things to sort out up there.
As a family, you can all be involved, and there aren't many events where you can actually come as a family and all feel like you're contributing, and this was certainly the experience we had last year, and we're having that again this year, and it's great. We're really enjoying it.
Oh, I take my hats off to them. It's remarkable. Yeah, right from the 24 hour to right through to the 12 hour. It's not so much the physical, it's the mental. The ability to just be able to push through it all and keep going and finish it. Massive effort. Oh, it's crazy. They're doing, around 40k an hour average. It's pretty insane. It's been a real eye-opener, especially when you've spent your life on the seat doing the hard work. Well, this is just on the other side of the fence, dealing with every other little aspect that can go right and that can possibly go wrong. And that's dealing with weather, it's dealing with people. Obviously there's extreme sleep conditions and fatigue that make this event very unique, which isn't my background, but I've been to the odd survival camp with Bjarne Rees in the CSC days, and there's a lot of similarities. So it's good to see those key values are still using today. But no, look, it's all experience, and yeah, it's just great to be involved. And someone once told me always get involved in the first event of something, because then the second year you kind of, you're a lot more aware, and you were at the first one, which means a lot.
When it's night and everyone's asleep and there's nothing going on out there except just hearing you breathing and your gears ticking along, it's very easy to just go into a little world, and all of a sudden you go, oh, I'm done now. There's one aspect of riding where it occurs, and that's in an individual road time trial. It's the same level of awareness. You just, for some reason, I think because the immense focus your body's putting into what it's doing, it stops realising the rest of the world, and all you can think about is basically what your Garmin is showing you and the road in front of you, and everything else just disappears. Like, you don't notice, like you could ride past the Eiffel Tower and you wouldn't even know when you did it. Like, it's just, yeah, you go into a bit of a zone, and it's just the only thing that matters is the pedals and and the little screen in front of you, and that's about it.
It's bringing people to the town, but it's actually uniting people too, because there's people that you're talking to now that have been in the town and everything for so long, but never had anything to do with them. But everyone seems to have some form of interest in this track, whether it be motor racing, motorcycle racing, or coming out here to cycle. There's people that's bringing their bikes out of the shed that don't want to ride around here because it's too dangerous. But this has given them a place to come to. It's something that you wouldn't expect. You come out here, you've come into the place in the night time and it looks dead because it's dark out, you know. And then you get over this other side of the track and you've got all this noise and everything like that. People just all buzzing everywhere. I wouldn't miss it. It's fantastic. I reckon everyone that hasn't done it has to come out and have a look to just see what sort of atmosphere cycling can generate. It's just fantastic, yeah. The whole vibe throughout the night, the day, everything was just, you couldn't have asked for a better event out here.
It's just an awesome experience because it's so quiet as well, and you're out in the middle of nowhere essentially, and you're just riding with a bunch of people with a common goal, and yeah, it's pretty special. It's good fun.
It's awesome in the dark. The corners are beautiful to take, and everyone's getting used to the track. But yeah, there is a lot of fatigue out there, and they're still going. There's a lot of guys. I'm surprised how many guys have kept on going through the night and haven't pulled the pin and gone to bed for a couple of hours sleep. So the track's still quite busy.
Pretty used to doing it on the small velodrome, and now we'll just take it to the real world, I guess. Yeah, I haven't ridden on a car race track before, so hopefully it's nice and smooth, and yeah, get out there and give it a crack for Timmy. Yeah, I just look at it as a cool training opportunity, and yeah, to be a part of something that it's going to be pretty special.
It's kind of an interesting thing in that, yeah, it is a weird sport in that there is no gratification other than the physical suffering and seeing a time change on a clock, essentially. Everyone always has their own personal goals. Some people do it for fitness, some people do it for performance, some people do it for at the ultimate end of the spectrum trying to get a job out of it. But it's, for the most part, there's, I guess, that sense of freedom and fun that comes from being on a bike.
I think it's a challenge of human limits. Like, it doesn't matter how long the challenge is, but it's a challenge, and the human body is capable of things that you don't even know. I think you see 24 hours riding around and around, it's like, I'll have a crack.
Pretty hard, really. You know, like, okay, we didn't have the wind that we had last year, but that heat for the first 5 or 6 hours, I was really thirsty. But I'm just coming out of a I had to really fight through a sleepy patch just in the last hour. So I just fought through it. I just actually feel a bit better now, but I was going to have a coffee, but I'll do a couple more laps.
It's very calm at night. It's you easily lose track of time. Because I'm part of a team of 8, at least we get the ability to stop, and then when you're out there, you're doing an hour, maybe 2 hour stint, and you don't realise the time is gone. And then you come in, you go, I was out there for 2 hours. And then you just, because there's no light, there's no sound, the only thing you can hear is your bike pedaling. And when the sun comes out and the life comes back into the place, you sort of get a sense of atmosphere and a bit of presence about the place. But when it's night and everyone's asleep and there's nothing going on out there except just hearing you breathing and your gears ticking along, it's very easy to just go into a little world. I think everyone handles fatigue differently. When Tim Decker's been coming in, he's been seeming quite alert and aware, but when I've been getting out there and talking to him, it's just, you can tell. It is quite interesting. You can actually observe what happens to the body when it's really fatigued. He asked me a pretty simple question out there, how long have you been out here? And I had to tell him 3 times because he just went, he heard the answer and I could see it didn't respond in his head. And then he asked it to me about a minute later. He was like, so how long have you been out here? And I'm like, okay, you're on, it's just, things are taking a lot longer to process.
They're beasting it at the moment. They're out there and it's just total mind over matter. It doesn't matter if you're doing 40k an hour. I mean, I'm just as impressed with some of the ladies tapping around at 20k an hour, in sneakers. It's just the mental challenge that they're giving themselves, and it's fantastic to see them when they finish. When they ride past you and you kind of support them, they're like zombies. They don't even, they can barely even recognise who you are or where they are. But then as soon as they finish, the switch goes and, bang, then the fatigue kicks in.
You have to have trained your body to be able to survive past what most people see as a long race. It then does become mental. You've either got that discipline to train and get yourself to the start line, and then to have that discipline, you've obviously got the discipline to be able to finish an event.
We started off as an athlete and coach relationship, and I think it's gone well beyond that. If one of us has felt bad, the other one's kind of pulled up or kind of adjusted their own program to cater for the other guy to get through. Rather than driving the nail in when you can see a little bit of weakness. I think it's more of a friendly rivalry, to be honest. Yeah, we started off as an athlete and coach relationship, and I think it's gone well beyond that.
Whoever wins, they will have bragging rights forever. So it is that important. I've got some stiff competition with, obviously, Tim Decker's signed up again, and Brett Davidson, who is my own man coach, an exceptional athlete himself. I thought it'd be a good challenge and a lot of fun. Where else do you get to ride your bike for 24 hours? I actually find it fun to be out there. There's a lot of other people out on the track. It's never boring. And you're always out there calculating how quick you can go, when you need to come in and get food. I want to see what it's like to get to the end of my energy levels and find out what's there. And really discover the true self. Racing is different because you have to push harder when you don't want to. With the longer endurance stuff, there is a bit more camaraderie, and you've got to look after each other as well. All of us will be out there to win. It'll be funny to see after 23 hours if we really have to hit each other, put the hammer down and try and drop each other. It'll be the slowest sprint in the world.
Okay, so Brett's now in a world of pain. His legs have completely seized up. So, I've spoken to friend and recommending putting a tablet under the tongue to let it dissolve, and that should help with the cramping. Yeah, he's not in a good way at the moment, but have faith that he will pull out of it.
I'm pretty tired, man. Yeah, but it's only 5 hours to go. 4 hours to go. So, hardest bit's over. Warm-up's done. Yeah, the night was hard. The young boys that were pushing at the front, it was like a 2.5 hour criterium race at the start of a 24-hour race. And then that continued all the way through. And I suffered a lot.
It's tough, yeah. No, the body is definitely falling apart a little bit, unfortunately, but yeah, that's life. I've trained with some pretty impressive athletes and raced them as well, and this is probably definitely one of the hardest things I've put my body through, without a doubt. The aim is to finish. I've put myself in the holes plenty of time to get across the line, so it's not something it is something I'm kind of used to, but yeah, it's just a matter of whether the body can actually keep going. Hopefully that's the idea, just got to take one pedal stroke at a time.
He knew he was going to be competing against professional cyclists, so he wanted to, mix it up with them, which he did for the first number of hours, I guess.
And this is much more of a psychological warfare than of course you're getting physically tired, but it's not damaging, I guess, like the racing, and you haven't got that stress level of racing, but the mental fatigue and the focus that these guys have got, just riding around in the dark, trying to follow a wheel that, you got a red light beaming in, and there's no light out here, from the city lights, which normally makes it a bit easier, and the moon was pretty much non-existent, which you kind of depend on a bit to shed a bit of natural light, so it's just challenging.
It's not just about the time you're on the bike, it's what did you do the days leading up, and the painful thing about it that a lot of people don't realise is you don't eat when you're hungry. If you're hungry, you've stuffed up essentially, because there's like an old mentality of racing multiple day races on the road. It's like you're not eating for today, you're eating for tomorrow. Because if you don't eat today, tomorrow you'll feel it. And it applies out here as well. If you do a couple hours without eating because you didn't feel like it in 4 hours' time, you're going to severely regret that. You're going to start feeling it in your legs and everything. And then to get yourself back on schedule with the amount you need, it's a huge job, and most people can't do it. Once they go off the edge, they can't come back from it, and that's where you see the people with the huge, where they, collapse on the bike. It's because they go into a depletion state they can't recover from.
That's a tough day. I think it's no matter where you are in the field, at the pointy end, or someone just looking to finish. I think at the end of the day, we're all just looking to finish by what we go through. But it was probably one of the most exciting things I've done as well, but also the most painful.
Yeah, it was really interesting race at the beginning. It was like a 2.5 hour crit race, but it's just an awesome event, and everyone helps each other out, and look forward to coming back again next year.
I don't know what to say. Actually, it was constantly on the whole way.
It was pretty bloody tough. It's probably one of the tougher ones I've ever done.